Good evening. You're watching Tuesday's edition of News Plus right here on Zedcon Prime. My name is Wadzanai Sansole and these are your headlines. News Plus will take a close look at the new bill introduced in the United States House of Representatives, which is proposing to repeal the two-decade-old sanctions regime against Zimbabwe. We spoke to some analysts on what this development means for the country. We shall also look at some power supply issues, with government approving a $400 million partnership for the refurbishment of Hwange Thermal Power Station, a development that is expected to ease the country's power shortages. A man from Kadoma wants the country's laws to be amended for courts to first prove paternity before prosecuting fathers who fail to pay maintenance. Stay tuned for details on the man's petition that he presented before legislators earlier today. And in sport, Zimbabwe beat Namibia by 5 wickets at Queen's Sports Club in Bulawayo today to take an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 3-match T20 International Series. We start with the new bill that was introduced in the United States House of Representatives that has proposed the repeal of the 2-decade-old sanctions regime against Zimbabwe, marking a potential shift in Washington's policy towards Harare. Now, the proposed legislation, known as the Department of State Policy Provisions Act, sets out a provision for repealing the Zimbabwe Democracy and Economic Recovery Act of 2001, which has been the legal foundation for U.S. sanctions against Zimbabwe since its enactment. Now, our correspondent Eben Mabunda spoke to some analysts on this development and filed the following report.
For more than 20 years, ZEDERA has required the U.S. to oppose loans, debt relief or financial assistance to Zimbabwe from international institutions. This effectively locked the country out of the critical global financial system. Now, Washington has moved to repeal the act, which was first enacted in 2001, sparking discussion in Harare. The repeal comes with strict conditions tied to Zimbabwe's compensation of former commercial farmers under the Global Compensation Deed. The bill stipulates that Washington will not support any fresh IMF or World Bank funding for Zimbabwe unless the government commits to fully compensating white former commercial farmers in line with the Global Compensation Deed. This, however, comes at a time when the country has already started to compensate the farmers who lost their land during the agrarian reform. While the bill is set to undergo several stages and debate before being finally passed into law, political analyst Dr. Mataruse believes the move by Washington represents significant wins for Zimbabwe.
So what this particularly means, yes, it is one of the best fruits of the president's multi-pronged foreign policy approach. The issue of re-engagement, engagement with multiple countries, moving us from a situation of being isolated.
The Global Compensation Deed signed in 2020 committed Zimbabwe to pay $3.5 billion to former white farmers, specifically for improvements on repossessed farms. The latest stance by the U.S. ties the country's economic recovery prospects to meeting this obligation within strict timelines. Economist Mishek Ugaro is of the view that the repeal will improve Zimbabwe's credit rating and open new opportunities for the country.
And it's not an insurmountable issue, because the fact that the government already signed this agreement is already a commitment. What is important is the impact of this move on the credit rating of this country. This de-risks this country, which means opportunities to raise funding.
Beyond Zimbabwe, the bill also touches on countries such as China, Belarus and Somalia, meaning its passage through the US system would trigger wider geopolitical discussions.
Actually longer than a year, because of it's not just about Zimbabwe. No, some people are just thinking that it's about Zimbabwe. It's clearly not about Zimbabwe. It's about U.S. foreign policy. It is a very complicated foreign policy approach. It's likely to be debated longer in the U.S. Parliament or the U.S. House of Representatives.
Over the years, the SADC bloc has rallied behind Zimbabwe for the removal of the Zedcon sanctions. Now, experts believe the possible repeal could also reshape Harare's international relations.
A landmark development, a landmark political development that should be celebrated by all and sundry in this country. Why it should be celebrated? Without a doubt, sanctions were and are still harming this country. They are stalling sustainable economic development.
Analysts say the clause tying Zimbabwe's access to international credit lines to compensation payments could become a sticking point in negotiations between Harare and Washington. If Zedcon sanctions are successfully repealed, what remains are the Magnitsky sanctions, which target Zimbabwe's president, the chief of police, and several other key businesses operating in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's re-engagement efforts with the United States are expected to continue, as a 12 to 18-month legislative process is expected to ensue in the United States governance, while Zimbabwe's treasury will seek to resolve the $3.5 billion obligation owed to former farm owners. Iben Mabunda, reporting for Zedcon Prime in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare.
And now, to further analyze this latest development, we cross over live to political analyst Gibson Nyikadzino, who's based at Uppsala University in Sweden. Good evening, Gibson. What does this mean for Zimbabwe from an economic standpoint?
Thank you so much for the pertinent question. I think before we look at what it means economically, we need to decode that the biggest gesture we are seeing from this is that both countries are keen on the normalization of relations, and also it means Zimbabwe has worked hard to highlight the importance of its friend of all and enemy of none, the mantra in its foreign policy. And when we look at it from an economic point of view, I think you would understand that for almost 25 years, Zimbabwe has lived under the stain of punitive measures, and through diplomatic engagements we see that the European Union, Britain, they eased and relaxed and also removed entities and individuals on their sanctions list, and this was something that was only left up to the United States, though there are key areas that also need redress. But this helps in priming Zimbabwe as an investment destination. Remember, we're a key player in the green energy transition because of our lithium reserves and other key minerals, rare earth minerals, which are critical components in the defense industry, the security sector, among other things.
Now, Gibson, there's a catch to this stance: cash payment to former farm owners within 12 months. Is this something that's actually feasible? Then
when you look at the idea of the feasibility of the cash payments to the farmers, we need to understand that this gesture, which has been signaled by the United States, it was never thought of as something that should happen in our lifetime, but it really happened. So I'm not trying to give a picture that we need to think for the government, but you know, governments as systems, they are so complex that what might deem unfeasible, at one point it might be something feasible. So we really need to take cue from how the government will approach this gesture from now, because time frames are also important, but also these time frames can be negotiated. I think from across the political divide, there's been a surprise, especially in the national political landscape, where from the onset people used to say the United States will not do anything to lift sanctions. Of course, there is concern that the head of state remains as a target, but we understand this is a beginning of relations which are taking a reset. So I think this is important for all of us as Zimbabwe.
Thank you and good evening. That was Gibson Nyakazino sharing his insights on the repealing of the Zimbabwe Sanctions Act. Now, in other news, government has approved a $455 million public-private partnership project between Zimbabwe Power Company and Jindal Private Limited for the rehabilitation, operation and transferable Hwange Power Station Units 1 to 6. Now, the partnership is aimed at reviving Hwange Power Station units under the Rehabilitate, Operate and Transfer model. Speaking during the post-cabinet briefing, Information Minister Dr. Jane Van Musere said the partnership will see Zimbabwe significantly increase electricity supply, guaranteeing reliable power for industries and households.
Reliable power will enable sustained production and boost industrial output, enhance economic activity and create jobs. Further negotiations, refinements are ongoing in order to ensure that the partnership project serves the national interest.
And responding to questions, Energy Minister July Moyo said the partnership is a consensual agreement that will last up to 15 years and is worth over $400 million.
The funding model is for Jindal to inject 455 million, which is monitorable by a joint committee to make sure that that money in fact reaches Zimbabwe through normal channels, banking system. That has been assured in the negotiations with Jindal. And the timelines is truncated into several timelines. The first 4 years are for Jindal to finish the rehabilitation of all the 6, and they provided a Gantt chart which shows how sequentially they are going to do it.
Now, moving on from that Hwange rehabilitation deal, a man from Kadoma, Dr. Daniel Guta, appeared before Parliament today to petition for amendments to the Maintenance Act. The Maintenance Act speaks to the legal obligation to provide for the well-being, upkeep and support of spouses and children. Our reporter Sharon Munjenjema has more details.
Dr. Daniel Guta, a Kadoma man who runs a legal aid clinic, walked into Parliament armed with documents and determination, ready to have his petition on the Maintenance Act heard. The Act enables magistrate courts to issue maintenance orders, define who qualifies as a dependent, and establish enforcement mechanisms when responsible persons fail in their duty. Guta says through his work, he has encountered some men imprisoned for failing to pay maintenance, a situation he argues is unjust.
That I've interacted with, they were at one time imprisoned for failure to abide by the Maintenance Act order. But it then happened that after some time, a DNA was conducted, and it proved that they were not the biological fathers of the concerned children.
The basis of Guta's argument is that, unlike other offences where accused persons are presumed innocent until proven guilty, men accused of paternity can be jailed without a DNA test being conducted. He says DNA tests should be mandatory, but legislators questioned whether in practice it is the failure to support children that leads to jail time or the contempt shown when court orders are ignored.
Is that nobody goes to jail for not paying maintenance. You go to jail because of contempt of court.
Guta insisted that jailing men without DNA proof violates Section 49 of Zimbabwe's constitution, which speaks against detention without probable cause. He argued that paternity must be proven beyond reasonable doubt before an accused father is sentenced. But some legislators were not quite convinced.
In his book, Family Law in Zimbabwe, Professor Ngove clearly pointed out that there is no pleasure without responsibility.
Trained up section 49. Amuriku Kota, Amuriku Trapana, no Fanakitwa incarcerated without a just cause. I think Dr. Gaitora Neko Potino Gona Bondera. Nemaka which just cause that Taura is watching the condemned.
Kuta proposed that the cost of DNA tests be covered by either the state or the mother making a paternity claim. Legislators said some parts of his petition need to be refined and reworded before further considerations. Cheryl Munjinjema for ZTN News at Parliament.
Still to come on News Plus, city employee allegedly sparks blaze and burns 50 cars.
Good evening and welcome to the greatest show on earth.
This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come.
Let's go! Lights, camera, action. Put your mind to it, love the life that you
Wherever you are, whatever your reason, it's on SuperSport all season long. Reconnect and stay connected to DSTV Compact and get the best football on us.
The ZANU-PF Finance Subcommittee invites you to exhibit at the 22nd ZANU-PF National People's Conference Business Expo. The expo will be held at Mutare Polytechnic in Manicaland Province from the 13th to the 18th of October 2025. It will be running under the theme Attainment of Vision 2030 through Economic Empowerment and Value Addition. The Business Expo brings together delegates, national politicians, business experts, policymakers and implementers, potential partners, investors and customers. The pricing structure is as follows: 6 by 3 meter cubicle, $6,000 or ZiG equivalent; 3 by 3 meter cubicle, $3,000 or ZiG equivalent. For more details, contact our coordinators on the following numbers: 0772 381 756 or 0773 289 501, landline 0242 752 936 and 774 161 04. Pamberine ZANU-PF. Pambili le ZANU-PF. Forward with ZANU-PF.
Welcome back. You are still watching News Plus. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Now, still on our local stories, a garage popularly known as Pub Rooms along Riverside Street in Mutare has been gutted by fire, allegedly started by a City of Mutare employee. Now, several vehicles that had been brought in for repairs were reduced to ashes as the blaze quickly spread across the premises. The City of Mutare Fire Brigade attended the scene and no human injuries have been reported so far. Now, eyewitnesses said they first noticed flames and thick smoke coming from the workshop before rushing to alert the garage owner.
Bataona moto uri kubaka batabuda kuti tione chichikuita kwese kwakanga kuri kutsva mota dzatsva mabenzi more than 50 mota dzatsva
wakwazva ikuya uku kwabva ndabvunza chiyungu ngati kumoto wakanaka here kanza moto wakadiwa kanaka kwabva waya patizeni mota yangu ndopanazeni chineya mwakumanani pachiheopi kwabva tinzachi mota yangu kuti ibude isina chimabhireki kwabva tinzati ibude patinzapata kuti ibude manjika moto kwabva takatoti mota dzezirapezi.
We now shift the focus to what is happening in Harare. A total of 1,830 businesses have been shut down for failing to comply with regulations during the ongoing Operation CBD order restoration, which seeks to bring order and compliance in the city center. Now, another 1,471 are operating without valid licenses. On the property side, 534 buildings are in arrears, with water supplies having been cut off at 81 properties. And officials say 609 buildings lack approved building plans, while 744 have no subdivision permits. Acting Town Clerk Engineer Paramile Mapena Moyo said efficient revenue collection is key to restoring quality service delivery across Harare.
Together with the revenue collection division, has got The operation, codenamed Operation CBD, Order Restoration, was subsequently launched to drive this strategy. We were saying, that we all want to achieve at least 70%, to collect at least 70% revenue collection efficiency. I'm glad to say, as mentioned, the number until 38%, has come around 52%. So our target really is just over 70%.
Now, today, heads of government departments in Manicaland province signed integrity pledges to demonstrate a collective commitment to upholding transparency, accountability, and good governance. And during his address, Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Advocate Mishek Mugadza, said the exercise was a key step in strengthening public trust and ensuring that public office-bearing discharge their duties with honesty and responsibility.
The signing of these integrity pledges by public officials in our province shows our collective commitment to upholding integrity as a fundamental principle for effective public service delivery. I want to commend the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, ZAC, for this noble initiative which dovetails with our President, His Excellency Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, for ethical and upright leadership that serves our people with diligence and professionalism. Ladies and gentlemen, this pledge is more than just a symbolic gesture. It is a social contract. It represents our collective commitment to the highest ethical standards. It demonstrates accountability, not just to oversight bodies, but to every citizen we serve. The pledge creates a shared framework of values across all government departments and agencies, setting clear expectations for ethical conduct.
Meanwhile, Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission Chairperson of the Prevention of Corruption and Corporate Governance Committee, Commissioner Chido Madiwa, described the signing as a solemn covenant.
All civil servants that of their free will commit themselves to the vow of integrity today, note that the signing of integrity pledges transcends the mere act of signing documents. It represents a sacred covenant between you as public servants and the citizens who have placed their trust in your hands. It is a solemn promise that will guide your decisions, shape your actions, and define your legacy in your public service. When we affix our signatures to this document, we are declaring to our nation that integrity is not negotiable, that public trust is sacred, and that the fight against corruption begins with each of us individually and collectively.
Young people's voices took center stage at the Zimbabwe Alternative Mining Indaba 2025 Youth Symposium that was held in Bulawayo, where calls were made for their inclusion in the country's extractive industry.
The Youth Symposium, convened by the Zimbabwe Environmental Law Organization, the Zimbabwe Council of Churches and Action Aid, brought together young leaders, government representatives, and civil society organizations. From Global Platform Zimbabwe under Action Aid, Rose Lily Ushokunze emphasized the need for platforms where young people can influence policy.
And we're here to discuss critical issues that are affecting the mining sector in our country. How do we leverage on the critical resources that our country has? How do we also take part in the just transition that is gaining global movement? So these are the issues that we're gathered to really talk about and see how the youth can be the agents of change and also drive this transition to the green economy.
Zelo Mining and Minerals Technical Officer Tatenda Maboze highlighted the lack of access to information among young people, saying there's still a huge knowledge gap.
This symposium marks a pivotal moment for the youth of Zimbabwe as we engage in vital discussions about the future of the mining sector. It is a platform where youth from across the country will claim agents on mineral governance and in just energy transition, bridge opportunity gaps by identifying decent work, entrepreneurship, and innovation pathways in responsible mining.
Planet Gold Zimbabwe project manager Nyaradzo Mtonari said by championing safer and greener mining methods, young people can help protect communities and ecosystems while securing livelihoods.
And our view when it comes to artisanal mining is we approach it from a human rights-based approach. We approach it in terms of the dignity of these young men and women who are contributing to the economy. And when we are tackling issues about the environmental impacts of artisanal and small-scale mining, we should tackle the issues, but also looking at the artisanal miner from the perspective that they have the same human rights that we have.
Officials from the Ministry of Youth and Zimbabwe Youth Council were present at the symposium, which was also attended by some delegates from Kenya, Tanzania and Finland, reflecting growing international interest in youth participation in mining governance. Zimbabwe Youth Council Vice Board Chairperson Unati Nyoni said the future of the sector depends on meaningful youth engagement.
As an organ of government that organizes young people who belong to the cluster of mining, to organize them into associations so that they are ready for empowerment opportunities, we found it very important to be part of these discussions that have to do with airing out challenges that exist within the mining sector, concerning young people especially, and how we then have issues with certain pieces of legislature and how they can be improved.
The symposium ended with a collective call for youth mainstreaming in mining policies, mentorship, and stronger partnerships with government and civil society. As the alternative mining indaba continues, young people say their participation is not optional but essential to the future of Zimbabwe's mining industry. For ZTN Prime, I'm Andile Chuma in Bulawayo.
Here's another local update for you. The Postal and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority, POTRAS, is on a drive to connect remote areas, including prisons, with the digital world. This has seen the authority setting up information centers in the country's 10 provinces, which have become a buzz with the younger generation.
Young people in Binga have come in contact with high-speed internet, which has allowed them to explore the digital world. Some have gone to the extent of enrolling in computer courses to advance their skills.
Information center yakatogwaska loko yatwetera internet nokupinga turaita maresearcha kuchikolo kusika so researcha alemba ma assignments zonse ziyanda internet, access my emails and everything siyakali difficult.
This has allowed the elderly to learn more about digital economy.
Inini ndiri pano pamusika ndokungonoti ndikasvika makusenano ndobva ndaenda kunoconnecta wifi yangu ndakutoya ndakutoita zvandiri kuita ndiri pano ndichisevha vanhu vangu ndiri pano ndikatobata wifi ipapa saka zvinhu zvatiri kunzwa kufara.
In the spirit of not leaving anyone and any place behind, the authority took the initiative to Marondera Female Open Correctional Institution. This is aimed at equipping the inmates with information by keeping up with current affairs, local trends and business operations.
Computers ngiyakwanisa ukuba ahead ngezinto ezenzakala phandle even niphakathi na kweli indawo loba ngingahlala 2 months ngaphumanga but ngiyakwazi ukuthi phandle kuyakwenzakalana. Okunye futhi ama-computers ancedile because kuma-computers ngifundile ukuthi siyakwanisa ukuthengisa izinto online.
Youth in Emawabeni community of Umzingwane say the initiative by POTRAS has helped eliminate idleness by providing entertainment.
Ngenxa ukuthi asila TV so nyawo ngizobukela ngapha mbagqoke popa emfu babukela.
In the world of ICTs, information centers have brought remotest areas in Zimbabwe to digital connectivity, giving them a chance to opportunities online. For ZTM Prime, I am Sitachi Siwekwaza.
Stay tuned to News Plus for some global updates.
The Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Honorable Dr. Frederick M. Shava, Deputy Minister Honorable Simelisizwe Sibanda, Permanent Secretary Professor Fanuel Tagwira, Chief Directors, and the entire ministry staff joins the nation in conveying heartfelt birthday wishes to you, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. Your visionary leadership and unwavering commitment to national development continue to inspire generations. As a ministry, we are very grateful for your pioneering of the transformative heritage-based Education 5.0 model, which has repositioned our higher and tertiary education sector to focus on teaching, research, community service, innovation and industrialization. Under your guidance, Zimbabwe's education system has become a key driver of innovation, industrial productivity and national pride. We wish you continued wisdom, good health, and many more years of impactful leadership. Happy birthday, Your Excellency.
Got some questions about Showmax? Well, we've got the answers. What is Showmax? Showmax is not a TV channel. It's a streaming service with tons of hit series, movies, and more. Plus, Premier League live on mobile. Just pick what you want and hit play. No schedule or airing times. With Showmax, you watch what you want, when you want, and where you want. For any other queries, find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, or TikTok.
Coming to you live from Harare, News Plus now gives you updates from the world around us. Now, the Lungu family has lost another appeal to have former Zambian President Edgar Lungu buried in South Africa. President Lungu died on 5 June 2025 at the age of 68 and is yet to be laid to rest. A Pretoria court ruled in the Zambian government's favor, saying that in the public interest, Lungu's remains can be repatriated and given a state funeral against the wishes of the family. Now, the family insists that while they're open to burying Lungu in Zambia, they want to honor his wishes that President Hichilema should not attend the event. Now, in other news, Malawans are voting in presidential and parliamentary elections following a turbulent 5 years that have seen the economic crisis worsening in the southern African nation. President Lazarus Chakwera is vying for a second term, his main rival being Peter Mutharika, who has previously been in office. Now, a presidential runoff will be held if no candidates get more than 50% of the votes cast in Tuesday's election. Still on elections, Syria will hold its first parliamentary elections in mid-September since the fall of former President Bashar al-Assad in December 2024. The move is part of the new government's effort to gain international recognition and implement economic reforms that are critical for Syria's reintegration into the global community, unlike conventional elections. Now, this process will be fully indirect, relying on local electoral bodies composed of community figures responsible for nominating and selecting parliamentarians.
هناك قرارات يتم اتخاذها اليوم هي بالفعل بحاجة إلى عودة إلى مجلس النواب، مثل الحوار مع الكيان الإسرائيلي على سبيل المثال، مثل يعني قرارات أخرى متعلقة بتغيير سياسة الدولة بالكامل، بتغيير الشكل الثقافي للدولة، حتى بمسألة الجيش وإدماج بعض العناصر الأجنبية.
United Nations spokesperson Stefan Dujarric says the international body welcomes high-level dialogues between China and the United States. Dujarric made these remarks at a daily briefing in response to a question on the two-day trade talks between China and the United States in Madrid, Spain.
We welcome and we encourage high-level dialogue between the world's two biggest economies because their economic relationship has an impact on the global economy.
The Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, has called for joint defense measures to deter Israel from further attacks following an emergency summit in Qatar, where leaders of all Islamic countries strongly condemned last week's Israeli attack on the Qatari capital, Doha. Now, leaders from 57 Arab and Muslim nations gathered in Doha to express their solidarity with Qatar. They called on member states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to reconsider their diplomatic and economic ties with Israel. They also described Israel's actions in Gaza as genocide and ethnic cleansing, warning the international community of grave consequences if these actions are not deterred.
أكد القادة أيضا على أن دول المجلس أمنها كل لا يتجزأ، وأن أي اعتداء على أي دولة عضو هو اعتداء على الجميع، وتسخير كافة إمكانيات دول المجلس لدعم دولة قطر وحماية أمنها وسيادتها. توجيه أصحاب الجلالة والسمو لمجلس الدفاع المشترك واللجنة العسكرية العليا بعقد اجتماع عاجل في الدوحة.
Now, China has officially commenced the construction of groundbreaking Shizang Guangdong ultra-high voltage direct current transmission project, the world's most powerful, technologically advanced, with the largest investment flexible power line to date. And stretching about 2,681 kilometers, 4 converter stations will be built along the route.
藏越直流是西藏地区外送的首条特高压柔性直流工程，能够助力西藏将资源优势转化为经济优势。工程的建设将破解4000米以上超高海拔特高压直流输电、电网薄弱地区、新能源大规模安全接入与并网等世界级难题。
Stand by for some business updates.
This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come. Let's go!
Wherever you are, whatever your reason, it's on SuperSport all season long. Reconnect and stay connected to DSTV Compact and get the best football on us.
Harare, tune into the beat.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, your source for news, business, sports, fashion, and more.
Experience the pulse of Harare's culture and lifestyle.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's top radio station.
Join the conversation with Zimbabwe's top personalities.
Subscribe now for fresh and infotainment content daily.
Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's heartbeat.
Captain Wally J's about to take you to boot camp.
It's the riveting science and tech show that keeps you up to date with the hottest gizmos on the block and revealing the illustrious and innovative visionaries in Zimbabwe. So much to see, you'll keep swiping.
This cherry red beauty is the Dairy Auto M7 mini electric car.
They've designed our brute force incubator board.
Look at what we've got here.
Solar powered scarecrow was part of the project that I was supposed to complete.
Catch Swipe every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on Zedcon Prime, DSTV channel 294. Get the picture?
In our first business update, national airline Air Zimbabwe has announced the permanent continuation of its Harare Mutare Victoria Falls flight route, initially launched for the Sanganai Hlanganani Kumbanai World Tourism Expo. Now, the new route links the capital to Manicaland, a province rich in natural attractions, and for years, access to these destinations has been a challenge, limiting local travel and investment opportunities. And economists believe improved connectivity will encourage more Zimbabweans to explore the Eastern Highlands, boosting demand for hospitality, for transport and related services.
The permanent adoption of the resolution to have a permanent flight between Havik Falls, Harare and Mutare is a step in the right direction for our transport sector, in the sense that it decongests our roads and enhances connectivity between the southern part of the country and the eastern part of the country. You'll be aware that Mtare is an essential tourism hub. It has got the Eastern Highlands, to mention but a few, and we've got a tourism hub on the Victoria Falls side. So it's poised to boost both domestic tourism as well as international tourism, in the sense that tourists who arrive in Vic Falls have an option to go beyond Vic Falls, which would be in Mtare, and visit the Eastern Highlands, and enhances spending in the tourism sector, as well as consumption of the transport, particularly in Zimbabwe, as well as recapturing the domestic travel market. You will be aware that Zimbabwe is going to try to unlock its previous market dominance in the flights and airplane industry.
Zimbabwe has scored another milestone in the international financial space. Deposit Protection Corporation Chief Executive Hopo Zinyawo has been elected Vice Chairperson of the International Association of Deposit Insurers Africa Regional Committee. Now, the election took place at the committee's meeting last month, and Zinyawo's appointment is seen as recognition of Zimbabwe's growing influence in regional and global financial safety net matters, as well as his leadership in advancing deposit protection across the continent. Now, the Africa Regional Committee brings together deposit insurers to share knowledge, strengthen collaboration, and promote financial sector stability across the continent. Still on our business updates, construction of the Chegutu cement plant is now halfway complete, with investors confident that production will begin early next year. The project, which stands at 50% completion, is on course to be finished before the 2025-2026 rainy season. And once operational, the facility will produce up to 800,000 tons of cement annually, a major boost expected to reduce Zimbabwe's import bill. Now, with half the work already done, focus now shifts to completing construction on schedule and delivering one of the country's largest cement production plants.
我们计划建厂的时候啊，就是为了造福当地百姓，我们也适当的把水泥价格往下降一降。
Definitely, yeah, after the operation of our plant, so there will be some reduction on the price. I mean, for the market price, the cement price, yeah, will go down. So this is also for the benefit of the public. So far, the progress, yeah, it's okay. It's going well. Then our plan is that in the middle of December, we will finish all the 90% or 95% of the earthwork.
Tanganda Tea Company posted improved third-quarter financial results, with export sales cushioning the group from some persistent domestic pressures. And in its latest trading update, the listed beverage products maker and agriculture group reported that revenues were boosted by higher export volumes across key products. The company says export sales volumes for tea and avocados recorded growth, underpinned by firm demand in regional and international markets. Management noted that the uplift in foreign currency earnings allowed the group to maintain financial stability despite some increases in local costs. News Plus will be right back.
Catch exclusive interviews every weekday for candid, exciting and thought-provoking conversations with your host, Erika Ndoro.
We talk about arts, we can talk about sports, we can even talk about politics, and sometimes we venture into a nice guitaristic play.
The one story where you can't get out of your head. Wakatarisa munhu so Erika, like where you're sitting. Ndozongokona bata face so pasina munhu.
Wakasiya music yako yo afro chakuti ndo music manje no Zimbabwe.
And I'm sure they're still saying the same thing now.
Yeah, so Shona kana kuti Chindevere kana mumwe mutauri muno muZimbabwe ndiwe iwewe. Ndiwo rupawo rwako. Ndicho chidadiso chako.
Catch me, Erika Ndoro, right here on ZTN Prime every single Monday at 7 p.m. whilst we get exclusive.
Didn't graduate. I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say,
So who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoilt.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
The guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
Thank you for staying tuned to News Plus. We now take a look at what's happening in the world of entertainment. Now, Zimbabwe's longest festival of urban culture, Shoko Festival, has announced its much-anticipated Shoko Comedy Night for its landmark 15th edition that's set to take place at Harare Gardens on Thursday, 25 September 2025. And in an interview on Morning Rush, Shoko Festival coordinator Vera Chisho said this year's Shoko Comedy Night promises to be an unforgettable celebration of Zimbabwean humor and comedic talent, with internationally acclaimed comedian King Kandoro headlining the event.
We also have some other comedians, Munya, Gramatunu. We've got Mike, who's going to be the MC. And then we also have Mbongeni, all the way from Bulayo, who's also going to be performing. So we're really excited about that. And we also have an international act, Justina Wanda. Justine Wanda from Kenya as well. She's also going to be on the lineup. She's an amazing comedian, very talented. She's worked with both Munya and King Kandoro quite a bit. So it's very cool to see all three of them on stage in Zimbabwe.
Now, after a successful Natural Hair Edition event, Sofa Sounds will be hosting the Harare Culture Pop-Up on the 20th of September. And guests can expect a performance from 3 surprise artists, fashion store pops, and visual art exhibition. One of the brands is a beacon of ethical and social responsibility within the fashion industry, championing upcycling and sustainability. Here's a snippet of the fashion pop-up. Still on entertainment, patrons are already looking forward to the 2025 Jacaranda Music Festival. And in light of this, they said in a statement, quote, "Since 2018, Jacaranda Music Festival has been setting the stage for a multi-genre presentation of music that is not experienced anywhere else on the entertainment scene. They have committed to curating an environment that promotes and embraces inclusivity of cultures through music." We give you a snippet of the 2024 This Is Reggae performance, concept and creative direction by Walter Wanyanya, and music direction by Joseph Chinoriri, with lead vocals by Mbeu. Those were your entertainment updates, and still to come in sport, Chevrons beat Namibia by 5 wickets to take unassailable lead.
They call me Racer X, or in this case, Racer J.
Put your seatbelt on.
Dental checkups, experiments, games.
The mixture is making bubbles and the bubbles have changed color. Our balloon has been fueled by carbon dioxide.
We have it all right here on Happy Sprouts. Catch us exclusively on City and Prime, DSTV channel 294. In a world where music transcends boundaries, where rhythm and melody unite the hearts of people, comes a show that celebrates the power of music like never before. Get ready to dive into a sonic journey that will leave you mesmerized. And yearning for more. Welcome to the captivating world of Z Vibes. Vibe to it, baby.
Some sports updates for you on News Plus. Zimbabwe beat Namibia by 5 wickets at Queen's Sports Club in Bulawayo today to take an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 3-match T20 International Series. Now the Chevrons won the toss and put in Namibia to bat first, restricting the visitors to 169 for 6 in 20 overs. Jan Lofty-Eaton had 47, while Brad Evans and Sikandar Raza both finished with bowling figures of 2 for 25. In reply, Chevrons cruised to 174-5 to win with 11 balls to spare. Now, Tadiwa Nashe Marumani top scored with 50, his third straight T20 international half-century. And Brian Bennett contributed with a quick-fire 40 off 20 balls. The third and final T20 international is on Thursday at Queen's Sports Club. Still on sports, former Zimbabwe senior women's netball team captain Perpetua Siachitema is banking on her experience as a player in her new role in the GEM technical team. We get more in the following report.
Having called time on her playing career 6 years ago, Perpetua Siachitema made her return to the GEMS Ford last month after she was appointed as assistant coach, a reward for her long service to the nation and heroics with the Rainbow Netball League outfit Globe Petroleum. Siachitema is counting on her experience to come in handy as she is looking forward to helping some GEMS players.
With the mid coach, when I was watching, before I was appointed the assistant coach, when I was watching, the mid, I had a lot to say, but I didn't know who to tell everything that I needed to say. So now that I'm in the picture, I think the first thing I did when I came here was to take the mid-court. I told them that you guys, you're disappointing, you're really hurting me. So I've worked with both the GEMS and the Zambezi. So I think it's going to be great for the GEMS, just me being in the technical side.
The former GEMS captain also heaped praises on a number of young players who have done well since their introduction to the senior team setup.
Well, I'm very impressed, especially with the GEMS. I'm very much impressed. I mean, the way they are playing, the way they are gelling together, I think I can say I'm impressed. I've seen some of we have players who were once in the Zambezi, now they're in the GEMS, even the age group. I think we're having a pool of young players. They're very energetic, the likes of Nicole Mzanenamo, the energy, the fusion of Tandazile. I'm just loving the energy, that fusion of the young blood, the energy, I'm just loving the GEMS, even defense-wise, we're having Kelly is all over the place. She has a lot of energy. So I think it's all thanks to the developmental side of the Zambezi. Yeah.
In recent times, players have been selected from the Rainbow Netball League and the Premier Netball League, with a section calling for the merging of the two so as to come up with a competitive league.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Well, again, I would like to say thank you to the Zimbabwe Netball Association. Though I would have loved maybe one day we could just have a one league. I think it would be even more competitive than it is. Maybe we take the top 4 from the PNL, we take the top 4 from the Ranel, we make one strong league. I think it's great for the players and also for the coaches, because every week there's no time to rest. You have to make researches every week. Unlike, if we are apart like this, sometimes we tend to relax because some teams are not as competitive as others. So I think it's a great challenge for both the coaches and the players.
CH has been making strides in the domestic netball circles, having led Globe Petroleum to league success twice in 2022 and 2023. Returns to the senior side, where she will be expected to pass on the torch to the next generation of netball players. Reporting for Zedcon Prime in Harare, I am Tawanda Muntali.
In other sports news, Maningi Youth Soccer Academy have withdrawn from the Zimbabwe Women's Premier Soccer League, citing alleged FIFA and CAF women's grants fraud. Now, the side, which has been in the relegation zone after accumulating 15 points from 20 league games, is reported to have bemoaned poor legal action on player development and training compensation from other teams which would have signed players from the club, high referee fees for women's football, as well as the assumption that grants meant for women's football were being channeled to men's football. And in a statement, the Zimbabwe Women's Premier Soccer League acknowledged the concerns that were raised by the club and their decision to withdraw from the league. In other news, Northern Region Division 1 Log Leaders Ngombeya Water head coach Nesbet Saruchera has been handed a 2-match suspension and is set to pay a $5,000 fine. Now, this comes after Saruchera twice stormed onto the pitch in protest over Agama's goal and further confronting match officials at the end of the match. Now, this is the second time that Saruchera has been fined in the northern region, as he was given a $3,500 fine last season during his tenure at Black Rhinos. Meanwhile, second-placed Agama have been handed a $5,000 fine for pitch invasion by their fans during the same match and are expected to pay it by the 26th of this month. Now, Dynamo's head coach Kelvin Kaindu has heaped praises on defender Mohamed Isaka and midfielder Denver Mkamba over their performances in the team's game against Triangle over the weekend. Ghanaian defender Mohamed Isaka joined the team during the mid-season transfer window and was recently handed his Dynamo's debut this past weekend as he came in for suspended Clive Mandive.
Isaka has been with us for some time. He came in for suspended Clive. First time that he has played, I think he did very well. He did very well. I think maybe for me, I would even give him the Man of the Match award. He hasn't been active. I think he was solid. He gave us a number of lofting passes from the back, especially in the first half. With a bit of urgency, we could have capitalized on that.
Now, Kayundu also spoke on midfielder Denver Mkamba, who is regaining his fitness, and hinted that he will get more game time as the season reaches the final stretch.
Yeah, slowly. We could have brought him in early, but like I said, this game was a very difficult game and we tried to delay a bit. When he came in, Denver always do something. Look at the last chance that we had. Maybe just a bit of composure on Perez. I think we could have got a goal. A number of set pieces that he gave us. Unfortunately, the goalkeeper was very, very good in terms of the aerial balls and defending. But he's a player that can give you anything at any given time. One good shot, just missing the target there. We're still working on him, and we believe in the next games that are coming, he'll be able to get even more minutes than today.
And that's a wrap on News Plus this Tuesday evening. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Wadzanai Sansole. Have a good night.
내가